Ellen Johnson is the president of American Atheists, and she certainly believes that there is a place for it in America. Tell me a little bit about, you say that there's a growing movement of atheists, and yet, everything that you sort of see out there would indicate otherwise, Ellen.
Well, no, this Harris survey echoes everything the other surveys prior to that have been saying and showing us, and that is that the American people are becoming more secular, that almost 50% of the American people are feeling alienated by organized religions, that the number of Americans who are non-believers is increasing. It has doubled over the last 10 years, and these results are echoed year after year. Barna does their survey every year. The ARA survey is every 10 years, and I think that this is something in this election year that the politicians should take notice of. No, there was this claim, I'm sorry, Sam, but there was this claim after 9/11 that there was a spiritual revival in America, but the Barna study is specific. It says there is no such revival. In fact, the Christians in America are losing 10% of their adherents every year, and if that trend continues by the year 2042, for the first time in our history, non-Christians will outnumber Christians.
If you are 30 or younger, chances are your belief in God may be on the decline. That's according to a survey by the Pew Research Center, which shows 68% of millennials say they doubt God's existence. I'm sorry, say they never doubt God's existence. And while that may be a majority, it's also a 15-point drop from 5 years ago. Pew says more millennials are expressing doubts about God than at any time in history, 30%. So joining me now is Jesse Galef, Communications Director for the Secular Student Alliance. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Carol.
Just to be clear, you're an atheist, and your group offers support to students in high schools and colleges nationwide. Why do you think we're seeing this shift?
Well, there have always been doubts among everyone in the population, but right now the millennials are coming of age in a time with the internet. For those with doubts before, who could they go to? They would go to church, where doubts are actively discouraged. Now they're connected with a worldwide community of people who can encourage the doubts, engage with them, and really now they have a place to discuss it, online and increasingly on campus with secular student alliances.
But that doesn't necessarily mean they don't believe in God or won't believe in God in the future. When you're young, you do question things. It's just the nature of a human being, human nature.
Yeah, and we're finding that as they question, unless the questions are really encouraged and people can explore the beliefs fully, they're not going to come to their own conclusions. And I think as more and more people can engage with the questions with peers on campus, online, they'll come to the conclusion that, well, I can think for myself, maybe I don't need to believe in God to be a good person. And that's really what we're finding. More and more secular students are coming to campus and coming to internet forums saying that, and admitting that they don't believe in a God.
We're turning into a nation of non-believers, most of us preferring to sleep in on a Sunday than go to church. 1 in 5 Aussies now consider themselves not religious, the highest number of godless in a century.
Churches are closing, being sold up. Many churches are pretty empty. People are not going to church. We're not recognising that great chunks of the Bible are really fiction, poetry, and so on. And to take it literally is to deny our intelligence.
Jason Ball from the Atheist Foundation of Australia says atheism is the country's fastest growing belief, if you can call it a belief.
Religious leaders these days just don't communicate our values anymore. Our social conscience has evolved past a lot of the tenets and dogmas of religion. For instance, we no longer see homosexuality as a sin or immoral.
Not passing judgment on religion, but they are saying that it's dying out. That's according to new research published in the US. It says 9 Western countries are losing their faith, naming Canada, Australia, Switzerland and Finland, among others. Now take a look at Catholic Ireland here. The no religion category in 1961 was 0.04%, and look at where it is in 2006, 4.2% in the no religion category. Let's check out the Netherlands here, 40% today, and look at the number by 2050. More than 70% of people over in the Netherlands will say that they have no religion. In the US now, that's an interesting one because the census doesn't really ask too much about religion, so the researchers there don't have enough data to predict what will happen. But check this out, no religion is actually the fastest growing part of the population in the United States. Let's have a chat with our religious affairs contributor, Richard Green, to find out what is going on. Are people just fearing God less, or they don't care as much? I mean, how did these guys even predict this, Richard?
Well, these guys are not talking about what people believe, why they do what they do. What they're doing is they're analyzing the trends. So they've got numbers from the census in these 9 countries going back 100 years, and they show a very clear pattern. In all of these 9 countries, over time, more and more people are drifting away from religion. So what they're saying is this is a trend that's going to continue, and given time, religion will simply die out.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. We're talking about Dawah and how to bring Muslims in, and now we got to focus on another problem. Comment was made yesterday afternoon that Dawah is more than just handing someone a brochure and walking away. Muslims, our obligation extend to new Muslims beyond the pronouncement or leading them through the pronouncement of Shahada. We're going to be addressing the topic of why new Muslims leave Islam, a phenomenon that has taken some of us by surprise to the extent that you really don't see it. And unfortunately, I think that extends from the fact that our contact, or we feel our job is done once, as I stated, once one accepts Shahada. And to lead in the discussion as it relates to this particular point in time, and at this time I asked Brother Ilyas Ba Yunus to step forward and go forward with the discussion.
During these interviews we found that although the head of the household had a Muslim name, but then actually he had reverted back to non-Islam, and this aroused our interest and we wanted to explore further in this direction, and we were able to find out at least about 150 such individual households which experienced Islam for quite considerable time, but then they reverted back to non-Islam.